This video is brought to you by Emily's Wish from the Unlucky Tug. So if you haven't watched it, then go to his channel and watch Emily's Wish. And don't forget to subscribe to him. He's amazing. And if you want to see more of my videos, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you won't miss another video. Emily's New Coaches. This is the very first Season 7 episode in Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. The first starts at a splendid day on the island of Sodor. Thomas the Tank Engine was taking Annie and Clarabelle back to the yards. A new engine had arrived, and he wanted to say hello. The new engine was a beautiful engine, with shining emerald green paint and a gleaming brass safety valve. Sir Topham Hatt had introduced Thomas to the engine named Emily, as they greeted warmly at each other. As Sir Topham Hatt ordered Emily to collect the coaches so she and her driver could learn the line, she excitedly whistled and puffed away. Thomas was very impressed. And later in the yards, the only coaches her driver could find were Thomas's coaches, Annie and Clarabelle. And as he said that they'll do, they felt deeply insulted. So Emily was coupled up to the coaches as she began her trial run down the line. Of course, the coaches kept on grumbling, but Emily took no notice. And soon, Emily saw Thomas coming down the opposite line, pulling a local train. Although Emily whistled at Thomas was very cross to see her pulling Annie and Clarabelle. This had made Emily puzzled, not knowing what she did to upset him. She even passed Edward and Percy, but none of them whistled back. This had made Emily upset because, well, she couldn't understand why the engines were being so unfriendly. And meanwhile, at Maithwaite Station, Sir Topham Hatt spoke to Thomas. He told Thomas to go to the docks to pick up new coaches. Thomas wasn't pleased and tried to explain about Emily, but Sir Topham Hatt told him firmly that useful engines don't argue. So, Thomas didn't. But soon, in the yards, Emily found out why Thomas was cross. Oliver explained that the coaches Emily was pulling were actually Thomas's coaches. So, Emily made her way to go in and apologize. Thomas was cross for pulling new coaches because in his mind, he wanted Annie and Clarabelle back. Emily kept looking for Thomas, but the signalman flagged her down. The signalman explained to Emily's driver that Oliver hasn't heard his signal box, so he asked the driver and fireman to go see what's wrong. And soon, they found Oliver. Oliver had broken down right in the railroad crossing, and suddenly, Emily heard Thomas's whistle. Thomas saw Oliver, and he knew he couldn't stop in time. So, Emily had jumped in, covered up right to Oliver, pushing all her might, and got him out of the way just in time. They were all relieved that nobody had gotten damaged or hurt. Soon, Sir Topham Hatt praised Emily. He was pleased with Emily's bravery, and he presented her with two coaches of her own. Emily B. She apologized to Thomas for taking the coaches, and Thomas apologized for being so angry. And so, they became good friends. So Thomas had Annie and Clarabelle back, and he now gets along with the new engine, who is now his new friend. Emily loved her new coaches, and also being part of Sir Topham Hatt's railway. So not a lot of engines were used in Emily's new coaches, although there were some stock footage from previous seasons, like Thomas's whistle, for example. Though other engines were mentioned for being so unfriendly, but we only saw Thomas, Edward, and Percy I think Edward needs to be portrayed better. Oliver doesn't count because he pointed out Emily's mistake. Now, like how Toby was originally going to be in Emily's new coaches, since he has small tanks, I'm having Boko take Oliver's place. I had this idea since Boko stopped appearing after season 5. Also since his engine class had flaws, pretty much like breaking down. And speaking of flaws, also having Derek there. I'm having him appear at the beginning of my cinematic take, where his engine is overheated and Thomas huffed past him. And more engines will be seen when Emily moves past them, like Gordon, hence the line,
"Never trust domeless engines, they're not respectable."
Duck being surprised and puzzled, James showing suspicion, same to Daisy, Dodge, Donald, and Douglas. Yes, Percy's there too, but he's puzzled instead of cross. Edward also passed by too, but he was concerned. Because in this take, he whistled happily to Emily, but she was tearful she didn't answer, which caused him to be concerned. So this makes her even more upset. So she's gonna be like crying when she's ignored. And she would sadly return to the yards with Annie and Clarabelle. Then Boko greets her warmly, and then realized Emily was pulling Thomas's coaches, so he pointed it out to her. This made Emily realize why. And speaking of coaches, adding 2 more for Thomas's coaches. They will have faces like Annie and Clarabelle, but their names will be Clarence and Conrad. At the next station, Sir Topham Hatt spoke to Thomas to pick up new coaches from the docks. Thomas explained about Emily, but Sir Topham Hatt said, "Really, you small engines don't argue." He even says he's aware, but believes that there has been a misunderstanding. But Thomas was still fuming about Coach Thatcher that he didn't hear what the Fat Controller said. And when he was about to leave, Emily puffed up, begging him not to go yet. But when she was about to explain her mistake, Thomas went to judgment, accusing Emily for doing it on purpose. Emily was flabbergasted by the attitude. She explained specifically that it was an accident. But James said, "Says the one who pretends that she didn't notice. At least I don't steal coaches anymore." And James then leaves the platform with his heavy goods train. And Thomas was unconvinced, and he wants Emily to prove it. As he told Emily that he doesn't feel like talking to anyone at this minute, Thomas set off to the docks to collect the new coaches. And Gordon and Henry were nearby, having heard everything.
"See, Henry, I told you she's not respectable,"
as Gordon remarked. But Henry didn't say anything. He glared at the sad Emily puffing away, feeling most suspicious. It's been a terrible start for Emily's first day, feeling that everyone hates her. And as Emily was making her way to the shed, a signalman came up to her. The signalman explained that Boko hasn't cleared his signal box. As the driver agreed to help, Emily was worried. But with no other choice, she made her way to the junction. Then, she finally found him. Boko's engine had been sputtering and coughing, leaving him broken and stuck right at the crossing. Then, Emily heard Thomas's whistle. Thomas had seen Boko, and he knew he couldn't stop in time. Boko cried for help, so Emily charged towards Boko. As Thomas gets closer and closer, so Emily used all of her strength and got Boko out of the way, just in time. The 3 were relieved, as the accident would have been nasty if no one had jumped in. And later, during the evening, the Fat Controller had praised Emily, saying that she was brave. Boko adds in that Emily was also helpful. Thomas then apologized for being so mean and jumping into conclusions. Emily forgives Thomas and apologized for taking the coaches, so they became good friends. and Sir Topham Hatt then present to Emily the 2 new coaches. Emily beamed, feeling all welcome to Sodor once again. And as the news spread, the engines in the shed were very pleased, and they even welcomed warmly to Emily. Even Gordon, who now finds her respectable. But the only one she didn't meet yet was Henry. He was deeply jealous, thinking that the engines will like her more than him. And without another word, Henry puffed out of the yards grumbling, the rivalry having begun. Now, I like how the original episode goes. Emily accidentally taking the coaches and engines shunning her. Even an engine saving another engine. But, well, I imagine more engines being there. Like diesel engines and more tender engines. But other than that, this episode was pretty good. So that's the video for the original Emily's New Coaches and the breakdown for my cinematic take. Hi guys, the Magic Railroad YouTube channel had released a 3rd teaser for the original Thomas and the Magic Railroad. If you haven't seen the teaser, go check it out. It's on the Magic Railroad YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to him. Stay tuned because there's going to be a special direct release in August 15th, 2026. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to number 1 Thomas Fan 2026 for his Trains adaptation for Emily and the Express in Season 1 style. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!